The wind gently crosses the courtyards of an ancient academy, nestled between mountains and bamboos. Inside, a group of young people recites classic texts, while a teacher, with infinite patience, corrects each intonation. Although it is not a university in the modern sense of the term, in that space beats one of the oldest forms of transmission of regulated knowledge that is known. If you are interested in learning more about the history of education, do not forget to subscribe and like this video. Your support is fundamental to continue sharing interesting content on such fascinating topics. Centuries before Europe consolidated its first medieval universities, China had already developed institutions dedicated to study, reflection, and intellectual formation. These academies, known as Shuyuan, did not emerge from nothing but were the result of a long educational evolution rooted in Confucian tradition. Understanding the origin of the Shuyuan Academies implies tracing a millennial history in which teaching, morality, and society intertwine. This path allows us to ask a provocative question. Could these institutions be considered the world's first universities? The figure of Confucius, v. 5 BC, marked a turning point as it opened the doors of teaching to groups outside the aristocratic elites. It was this philosopher who established a tradition of private education that would last for centuries. Since the spring and autumn period, ca. 770 to ca. 481 BC, the teachers used to gather the disciples in informal spaces where moral, philosophical, and political knowledge was transmitted. Although these places did not have a fixed denomination, they performed clear educational functions. The educational system of ancient China was characterized by surprising complexity and hierarchy, ranging from family schools to state schools. Education also formed the moral character of the individual, a central principle in Confucian thought. The term Shuyuan officially appeared in the 8th century AD during the Tang Dynasty. Initially, it did not designate an educational center in the strict sense, but a space linked to the compilation, correction, and preservation of classical texts. One of the most important debates revolves around the chronological relationship between private and official academies. Some indications suggest the existence of study spaces prior to the state recognition of the term Shuyuan. The private academies of the Tang Dynasty were configured as spaces of intellectual retreat that integrated nature and knowledge. These academies functioned as centers of sociability, where literary banquets were held and ideas exchanged. Between the end of the Tang Dynasty and the period of the 5 dynasties, China experienced profound political instability. In response, private academies evolved to assume broader educational functions, including systematic teaching. The history of the Shuyuan Academies reveals a complex evolutionary process in which teaching, culture, and politics intertwine. Shuyuan represent an early form of higher education that opens new perspectives on the global history of knowledge.